Today we will be doing systems of equations, word problems. So over the course of this unit, we have looked at solving by graphing, solving by substitution, and solving by elimination. If you forgot what those mean, there's a little definition for you. Sorry if it's a little bit blurry. Today we will learn how to apply our knowledge of linear systems in order to solve some real-life examples. Linear systems can be used to solve problems when there are two variables. Usually there's going to be money involved. In these problems that we're going to look at today, we will be using standard form, but we could use either standard form or slope-intercept form when we're solving. So for this first one, Mr. Jones goes to a music store to buy new strings for his guitar and strikes up a conversation with the manager. The manager boasts that it's been a great week for the store because they've sold 7 guitars for a total of $1,600. Electric and acoustic guitars are both sold. Electric guitars cost $200 and acoustic guitars cost $300. How many of each type did the store sell? So we need to set up two equations. We'll set up an items equation and a cost or money equation. So there's two different units being used. The actual guitars that are being sold, and they've sold a total of 7 guitars. So sold 7 guitars. What types of guitars did they sell? Well, they've sold electric guitars and acoustic guitars at this particular music store. Then there's also money as a unit. A total of $1,600. Electric guitars cost $200 and acoustic guitars costing $300. Okay? So let's make two equations. Well, first let's use some variables. And we're going to use, remember when we did literal equations where we used variables that had some sort of meaning. So instead of using X and Y, I'm going to use E for electric guitars and A for acoustic guitars. So we'll set up an items equation and we'll also set up the cost equation. Okay, so for items, what did we sell? Well, we sold acoustic guitars and electric guitars. It's everything that's kind of highlighted in pink. Electric guitars and acoustic guitars, we sold those together for a total of 7 being sold during the week. Then for the cost, so everything that's highlighted in that like bluish color. There was a total of $1,600, so equal $1,600. And what was being sold? What was the cost? Also highlighted in blue. Electric guitars cost $200, so $200 per electric guitar. And I think I'm going to need a little more room. And acoustic guitars costing $300. I don't know how many electric guitars I sold, and I don't know how many acoustic guitars I sold. So that's why I'm using those variables, E and A. Now, I could use elimination because E's and A's are both on the same side, but I would have to multiply the top by either negative 200 or negative 300. And that's quite a big number to solve for. So let's actually solve this first equation for a particular variable so that I can use the substitution method. So if I solved for, let's say we solved for E. That means I'm going to subtract A from both sides. So E equals 7 minus A. Now I think it would be pretty easy for us to plug in 7 minus A for E. So we'll plug it in and we'll solve. So we'll have 200 E, which E equals 7 minus A, plus 300A equals $1,600. We will then distribute. So 200 times 7 is 2 times 7 is 14, and then we'll add on the 2 zeros, minus 200A plus 300A equals 1,600. Then we have 1,400 plus 100A equals 1,600. Subtract 1,400 from both sides. 100A equals 200, and A will equal 2. So that means that there were 2 acoustic guitars sold. But how many electric guitars were sold? Well, if we go, we'll highlight this to make it stand out. If we plug this, sorry, there's a lot of arrows going on, plug it back into one of the original equations, and I'll write that down for you so you can follow along. Electric guitars equaled 7 minus acoustic guitars. So E equals 7 minus 2. That means that E equals 5. Which means that we sold 5 electric guitars. Okay, and notice that I did go a step further. Instead of just giving A equals 2, E equals 5, I did explain in the context of the problem how many guitars we specifically sold. Now, if you're looking at the answer key, there is a mistake on the answer key, so my answer does not match the answer key because the answer key, I wrote down the wrong number. So don't be alarmed by that. Okay, let's look at one more together, and then I'll let you try and figure out the rest on your own. The band is having a fundraiser, and they are selling t-shirts and sweatshirts. T-shirts cost $10, and sweatshirts cost $15. If the band sells a total of 80 t-shirts and sweatshirts all together and makes $1,000, how many t-shirts did they sell? So we'll set up this problem the same way that we did the last one. Set up 2 equations, one for the total items sold and one for the total cost. So let's first define our variables. Let's say we have T for t-shirts and S for sweaters. Okay, let's find all of the items that we sold. So items being t-shirts and sweatshirts, and they sold a total of 80 t-shirts and sweatshirts. And then let's highlight for money. T-shirts cost $10. Money's quite easy to find because you just look for those dollar signs. And sweatshirts cost $15. And in the end, they made $1,000. Okay, so now let's make our 2 equations. So we have an items equation. We sold t-shirts and sweatshirts, and we sold a total of 80. And then we'll make our cost or our money equation. We sold a total of $1,000. And let's see, t-shirts cost $10. So $10 per t-shirt plus sweaters cost $15. So plus 15 for each sweater. And then all together, we made that $1,000. Okay, so similarly, I'm going to solve the first equation for a variable. Let's say we want to solve for T this time. So T equals 80 minus S. Okay, then I can take that 80 minus S. I've isolated a variable, and I'm going to plug it right in for T and solve. Okay, so we'll plug it right in. So 10 times 80 minus S, parenthesis, plus 15S equals 1,000. Then we'll distribute. So 800 minus 10S plus 15S equals 1,000. Combine our like terms. 800 plus 5S equals 1,000. Subtract 800 from both sides. 5 equals 5S equals 200. So that means S equals 40. So let's highlight that so it sticks out. S equals 40, and that means we sold 40 sweaters were sold. But we want to know how many t-shirts did they sell. So let's take this S equaling 40. We will plug it right back into the original equation to solve for t-shirts. T-shirts equaled 80 minus the number of sweaters. If we already sold 40 sweaters, that means we sold 40 t-shirts as well. So if you want to highlight just to keep consistent, so that means that 40 t-shirts were also sold. All right. Okay, so go ahead and try the last couple on your own.